I've been diving into various Grandmaster Hunter builds recommended by top YouTubers recently, experimenting with each one to see how they perform. Instead of just booting up Destiny 2 and giving up after one session, I committed thoroughly to testing these builds in actual gameplay. My goal was to determine which Hunter build truly stands out and if they really enhance the gaming experience as much as they claimed. I aimed to find out if I could enjoy these builds and if they're worth recommending to other Destiny 2 players looking for that edge. So join me as I take you through my journey of testing these Hunter builds to uncover which one is the best and why. Before we dive into the specifics of each Hunter build, I want to give you a word of warning. Many of the creators who suggest these builds are usually playing with friends, not matchmaking with random players or using the Fireteam Finder like I am. This means that their experiences might not accurately reflect what you'll encounter in a typical match-made session. Playing with a coordinated team can make any build seem more powerful than it really is. Despite this potential flaw in their proposals, I decided to push through and test these builds in a variety of situations to give you a more realistic perspective. The first build I tried was Matic's Arc Hunter damage resistance build, which you can check out in more detail in the description. This build focuses on leveraging the Ascension Jolt ability, which requires getting up close and personal with enemies to maximize its effectiveness. On paper, this build promises high damage output and increased resistance, making it seem like a formidable choice for aggressive players. However, I quickly discovered a significant drawback. Without the support of team buffs from coordinated teammates, the effectiveness of this build drastically decreases. In practice, running headfirst into enemies often led to premature deaths. The Ascension Jolt requires precise timing and proximity, but without a reliable team to back me up, I found myself exposed and vulnerable. In many cases, I was taken down before I could even activate the build's key abilities, rendering the strategy ineffective. This issue was particularly pronounced in match-made activities, where the lack of communication and coordination with random players highlighted the build's dependency on a supportive team environment. As a result, while the Matic Arc Hunter build may shine in a pre-coordinated fireteam, it falls short in typical matchmaking scenarios, making it less viable for solo players or those relying on random teammates. Next, I tested Fallout's Renewal Stasis build, which you can explore further in the description. I was particularly excited about this one and had a lot of fun whilst using it. However, I quickly realised that the build's effectiveness hinges on having a weapon with the Chill Clip perk. The frozen enemies from this perk are what grant you the crucial frost armor buffs. Unfortunately, I didn't have any weapons with Chill Clip, so I had to rely solely on dusk-filled grenades to activate the buffs. In Grandmaster Nightfalls, where heavy-hitting enemies are abundant, this proved to be a major limitation. The grenades' cooldowns were too long to keep up with the constant need for the frost armor buffs, leaving me vulnerable. As a result, I often found myself unable to contribute effectively to my random fire teams, and I was unable to complete a Grandmaster with this build. I was desperately trying to get a Riptide with Chill Clip, but it meant playing a lot of Crucible, and there's only so much headbutting a brick wall I can take in a short period of time. But I still plan to hunt for this, and I will report back when I can fully utilize this build properly. Next, I tested Plunder the Booty's Unkillable Strand Prismatic build, which you can explore further in the description below just like the others. This build reminded me of Matic's Arc build in many ways. It was incredibly fun and aggressive to play with, providing a thrilling experience. The grapple ability in particular has magnificent effects when clearing a room full of ads. It allowed me to zip around the battlefield quickly, eliminating multiple enemies and creating a sense of fluid, dynamic combat. However, this aggressive approach came with a very significant risk, especially when facing champions that can kill in one hit. To use the grapple effectively against these tougher enemies, I had to pull myself directly into their vicinity, often ending up nose to nose with them. This close proximity required precise execution. If I didn't manage to kill them immediately, I frequently found myself overwhelmed by their really strong attacks. In many instances, I was pulling myself into my own instant death. This high-risk, high-reward strategy made the build less viable in high-stakes scenarios where survival is critical. The whole point of this build is similar to the Invincibility build from Castle Content, which I will cover next. Both builds aim to create a nearly indestructible character through perfect synergy of abilities and equipment. However, the Strand Prismatic build fell short in my experience. The grenade, melee, and weapon choices, while powerful, did not synergize as seamlessly as advertised. I found that I wasn't transcending enough to benefit from the claimed invincibility. The build required precise timing and perfect conditions to achieve its full potential, which was difficult to consistently maintain in chaotic combat situations. As a result, while the Strand prismatic build was exciting and had its moments of brilliance, it ultimately lacked the reliability needed for consistent performance in Destiny 2's most challenging content. For my final build, I returned to my favourite Invincibility build by Castle Content, which you can also find in the description. The difference in effectiveness between this build and the previous ones was like night and day. Despite playing on my own, this build significantly aided the entire team. I constantly triggered Woven Mail for damage resistance through the Gunpowder Gamble, and when paired with Outbreak Perfected, I was constantly transcending as well. This synergy allowed me to have 3 grenades ready to throw almost all the time, ensuring that Woven Mail was always active and providing me with the continuous buffs. It's worth mentioning that if you don't have the new class item with Spirit of Sertarachne, you can alternatively focus on using Sertarachne's Facade. However, with the recent discussion about how difficult it is to obtain some of these exotic roles, it's disappointing to acknowledge that only a handful of people watching this video will be able to use this build to its full potential. The rarity and challenging acquisition process of these exotics can be a significant barrier for many players, which is a real shame considering its impressive performance. Additionally, Outbreak Perfected is an outstanding weapon with its rewind rounds, allowing for constant damage output against enemies. The weapon itself proved to be far superior to any other primary weapon I had tried, dealing significantly more damage and contributing to the overall effectiveness of the build. This build not only enhanced my survivability, but also increased my damage output, making it a valuable asset for the team. In conclusion, Castle Content's Invincibility build provided a perfect balance of defense and offense, making it the best choice for both solo play and team support. Another significant advantage of this build is the use of Withering Blade, our Frost Shurikens, which can freeze any champion and hold them in place. When transcended, it felt like having Withering Blade on demand. This ability to immobilize tough enemies during difficult encounters was a game changer, as it provided substantial crowd control, greatly benefiting my teammates and preventing them from dying. The freezing effect allowed us to manage high threat targets more efficiently, creating safer and more manageable combat scenarios. In the end, I was able to complete the Grandmaster Nightfall using this build, and I even had a significant number of revives left at the end. This outcome clearly demonstrates the power and effectiveness of Castle Content's Invincibility build, solidifying its status as my go-to choice for challenging content in Destiny 2.